Khadija radiallahu anha was born in Mecca in the year of 556 CE. Her mother's name was Fatima bint Zad and her father's name was Khuwaylid bin Azad. He was a very popular leader among the tribe of Quraysh and a very prosperous businessman who died while fighting in the famous Battle of Fujjar. Khadija radiallahu anha thus grew up in the lap of luxury. She married Abu Hala Malak bin Nabash bin Zara bin Ant Tamimi. She bore him two children, Hala and Hind. She wanted to see her husband prosper and financed him setting up a big business. But unfortunately, he passed away. Sometime later, the young widow married Atik bin Aith bin Abdullah al Makhzumi, and she had a daughter by him as well named Hinda. But the marriage soon broke up on grounds of incompatibility. After this, all attention was devoted to the upbringing of her children and building up the business she inherited from her father. Her astuteness and business ability made hers one of the most widespread business among the Quraysh. Her policy was to employ hardworking, honest and discriminating managers to deal on her behalf. There was no network of travel and communication as there is today, and a lot depended on the integrity of the employees who traveled far and wide on her behalf. She exported her goods to faraway markets like Syria, and her managers bought goods from those markets to be sold at home. Mecca, being strategically located on the trading caravan routes and the center of international trade fairs, was a very profitable market for the goods brought back. The managers would get 50% of profit, and this was enough to incentive for them. Khadija radiallahu anha had heard of the integrity, honesty, and principled behavior of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and sent a job offer to him to head her trading caravans. He gladly accepted the offer and started working for her. Khadija sent him on a business trip, her old and trusted slave Maisara being delegated to accompany and serve him. This trip proved to be an extremely profitable venture, and Maisara was astounded by some very remarkable scenes he witnessed on this trip. He was impressed and completely won over the Prophet ﷺ. Integrity, strength of character, adherence to principles, his amicable dealings, and his business abilities. On the way back from Syria, the Prophet ﷺ lay down under a tree to rest for a while. Nestora, a Jewish monk noted for his knowledge of a religion and for his insight, saw him and asked Maisara who he was. Maisara told him all about Muhammad ﷺ and his reputation for honesty and intelligence. Nestora then told him that this man would be elevated to prophethood in the future, as no man had ever rested under the particular tree but prophets. Tradition has it that Maisara saw two angels bearing a cloud over Prophet's head to protect him from the glare and heat of the sun. He was stunned and overcome by a sense of gratitude that he had been given the opportunity of benefiting from the close companionship of this man, soon to be chosen by Allah Azza wa Jalla as his messenger. When he returned home, Maisara reported to his Khadija all that had taken place on the trip to Syria. She was deeply moved and impressed that, and started thinking of proposing marriage to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But how could she express her thoughts to him? She already rejected several proposals of marriage from men belonging to some of the noble families of the Quraysh. How would her tribe react? What would her family say? And what was more, would her proposal be acceptable to this young yet unmarried man of the tribe of Quraysh? As she pondered over these questions and debated within herself, one night she dreamt that the shining sun had descended from the heavens into her courtyard, radiating her home. When she woke up, she went for the interpretation of this wonderful dream to her cousin, Waraka bin Nawfal, a blind man noted for his skill in interpreting dreams and for depth of his knowledge, particularly of the Torah and the Injil. When he heard her dream, he gave a serene smile and told her not to worry, as this was a very promising dream. The glorious sun she saw descending into her courtyard indicated that the Prophet ﷺ, her advent, had been predicted in the Torah and the Injil, was to grace her home and she would gain from his presence in her life. After this meeting with Waraka, she became stronger in her desire to marry Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but she was still not sure how to go about it. One of her very close friends, Nafisa bint Mumba, knew of her inclination. One day she told Khadija radiallahu anha that what was bothering her so much was not a major problem, and she herself would help her to solve it. She went immediately to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and without much ado, she requested his permission to ask him a very personal question. When he said he had no objection, she asked why he had not yet got married. He said he did not have the financial resources. Then she asked him if he would be willing to marry a beautiful lady from a noble and wealthy family who was inclined towards marriage with him. He asked whom she was referring to. When he learned her identity, he said that he was willing, provided she was willing to marry him. Of course, Khadija radiallahu anha was overjoyed. The two uncles of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hamza radiallahu anhu and Abu Talib radiallahu anhu, approached her uncle Umar bin Asad with the formal proposal. It was accepted and the date was fixed. The two families began preparing for the wedding. On the dates that had been fixed, the families and friends gathered and the marriage was solemnized. Halima Saadia, who nursed the Prophet ﷺ in his infancy, was specially invited for the wedding and traveled to Mecca from her village. When she left after the festives, Khadija presented her with household goods, a camel, 40 goats, as an expression of gratitude to the lady who had taken such good care of Muhammad ﷺ in his infancy. Khadija was very blessed in the marriage and had 6 children. First, 2 sons, Qasim and Abdullah, then followed the daughters Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, and Fatima radiallahu anhum. They were wonderful, intelligent children, and it was very happy, peaceful, and content households. But all this did not seem enough. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt something was missing, and he was extremely restless. He would retire for a month once a year to Cave of Hira to dedicate himself entirely to prayer and meditation. One day he felt the presence of another being who held him in his arms in a tight embrace. Then he loosened his hold and asked him to read. Muhammad ﷺ answered that he was illiterate, but the person repeated the same act and phrase again and again. Then finally he read this ayah, which are the first revelation of the Quran.